Okay, I've been waiting to do this video, everybody. Big D asked me a question about his new planer. And I said, before you turn that on, let me give you a brief primer of some of the struggles I went through when I first got started with my first thickness planer. So stay tuned. I'm going through some basics. There'll possibly be some tips that you may use.
All right, Sedge. Awesome news. I got myself the thickness planer.
About time. He listened.
I do listen sometimes.
All right.
But I need to do some more listening because I have no clue on how to even get started.
So when I got my first thickness planer, I had a really good mentor. He gave me a couple of tips.
Okay.
But over the years, I have kept my ears peeled to listen to all kinds of tips and tricks that people have given me for thickness planers.
Okay.
And boy, I wish I had all that information in the beginning. So I'm going to impart a lot of info today for you to get started properly and for everybody watching. So pay attention, everybody. There's a lot of tips and tricks on thickness planing.
Okay. So what kind of wood is this?
This is cherry. It's rough sawn cherry. It's quite dirty, and wait to see what comes out of it.
Awesome.
But first thing is I think this is, let's get it imperial for everybody watching. Okay, this looks like it's about an 8-foot board, or roughly 2,440 millimeters. Okay, now feel this. You'll feel a slight warp to it, right? Okay. Before we send this whole thing through the planer, we're going to cut it into more manageable pieces.
Okay.
Okay? And a lot of the times, Mark Adams taught me this, you can cut the warp out.
Okay.
Okay? And it's more manageable. So, let's take a quick measurement. We know we're at 8 foot. Let's send, I think the project that we're looking at is 2 foot, but actually 610 millimeters.
Yep.
Let's cut this in manageable lengths and then analyze it.
Sounds good.
Okay, so you get these cut in 610 millimeter lengths.
Yep.
2 foot. Okay, now you still look, see, because this MDF is dead flat, you still have a little bit of wobble.
Yeah.
Okay, now we don't have a joint in here, but I'm going to show you a technique I use to knock the highs off.
Okay.
Okay, so I just grabbed some chalk here. Okay, so if my wobble's here, that means these two ends underneath are sitting high.
Gotcha.
Okay, so as I flip it over, this is where I get confused sometimes. Make sure you mark the highs, okay, because that's where we're just going to take a little off here.
Okay.
Now, the reason we do that, if this was fed into this machine here, the two feed rollers, in feed and out feed, and you can see it right here on the schematic, those are going in a clockwise rotation.
Okay.
They're grabbing the board and feeding it in and pulling it out the other end. Okay? So the cutter head, which is going in a counterclockwise, this will be very important when we talk about grain direction and tear out in a few minutes. Okay? So if those feed rollers grab that board, it's going to grab it and then feed it out this way.
Oh.
Okay, so you're gonna have that board at the other end still be warped. Okay. So you gotta, that's why a jointer gets you that dead flat face to put down here on the bed of the planer.
Makes sense.
Now, I don't always have the schematic with me, but what I always do is I always draw on any planer I've ever had. See this? This is the rotation of my in feed and out feed, and that's the rotation. That gives me a heads up to prevent some tear out on some wacky grains.
Cool.
Cool. Okay, so we have it at our hand tool bench. I'm just gonna verify underneath. This is my high and this is my high, so I'm gonna flip it over and I'm just gonna lock it in. Right now, I have this. I'm gonna take ever so slightly. I'm not gonna take it here, I'm gonna take it here. And I'm just gonna do a few passes like this. I'm gonna sneak up to it. See how it's coming off here? But this is where I want it. Look, you can see where the high is. See this?
Oh, wow.
Okay, and sometimes it's not a lot. So I kind of creep up to it like this. Okay, and then I'm gonna flip it around because I always like to come from that direction for some reason. And I'm just gonna take it like this, making sure this is flat, and take away some of the highs. Yeah, you take a couple passes here, Big D.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just check and feel.
Almost.
See how that's starting to come down a little?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just
Flip it
nice and easy, and you start from here.
Okay.
Okay, so we've gone through the boards. The crown of the board is a very slight top in the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's gonna be facing up because we flattened the bottom, best of
Right.
our ability. Okay, we're gonna take it like this, and the reason I'm marking this is how we're gonna present it to the planer.
Gotcha.
Eventually, we're gonna put arrows for grain direction as we go through this.
Okay.
That way there, we risk tear out if the grain gets wacky. So really important before we get started, okay? I have a 50 millimeter hose here, and I have it in a separator. It goes in there first, and then the fine particulate goes down to the bag,
Okay.
the CT. I have the planer plugged right in here, so when we turn it on, it's on automatic. This automatically comes on. Now, it's really important to know this model right here, the planer, because this is fan assisted.
Oh.
If we had turned this on without dust extraction, it would fill that side of the shop. We're gonna be producing a lot of chip. So always hook it up to a dust extractor with the separator. And with a 50 millimeter hose, that snugs right into that planer. So here's another tip, okay? We cut these two pieces out of the same stick, right?
Right.
But look at the difference in thickness,
Yep.
okay? So, you're not going to set your initial pass for this thickness, because if you do for this, then you got to hog the heck out of this one.
Okay.
Okay, you don't want to overburden the machine is what I'm saying. Now, if we look at here, there's a preset on this machine. It's great because we're going to go down to 25 millimeters, which is roughly an inch. Okay, this is an imperial scale, so this is an indispensable tool. It's a digital vernier caliper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an initial measurement here, and because that scale is in metric, what does that read, Big D?
36.9.
Okay, roughly 36 millimeters, but let's look here, and we're going to convert it over to inches, and it's 1 and 29/64.
Wow. I have no idea.
Me either. So what I do is this is my cheat. Okay, I take this and I go up to something I can read, 1.5 inches.
There you go.
Okay, so this gets me close to where I want to be on this scale right here. So I'm going to bring it down. The read is at the very top.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and here's the other trick I've learned over the years. Okay, there's your 2 inch. We're going to start, and it says 1.5 inches. There's my 1.5 inches. I'm going to bring it up here, and I'm going to take this thick board. Remember, we've taken the highs off. I'm going to bring it in here. Okay, that's not going to be much. So I like do half turns. I remember this is here. I take it, go a half turn. Okay, that's still not going to give me any cut. That's almost there, so I'll go here for my first pass.
Okay.
Okay, and we'll see what happens. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about safety.
Okay.
When we're on a router table or using routers, I always stress earplugs. Same thing with a thickness planer, okay? These tools, router, planer, make a lot of noise. They're not loud when you turn them on, but when that material hits those cutter heads, it gets loud. Always, always use ear protection. Okay, so when I feed this in, all right, this one that I've adjusted for, it may grab it here, here, and here.
Okay.
Okay? Yours probably won't feed through, but here's what I want to tell you. Always remember this. Don't go and thickness a board and then go back and thickness all of them. Do a continuous run of all of them.
okay.
That way there it'll be wicked consistent. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this. that's where my big dip is. Look how consistent I am here. That's my big dip. Now feed yours. Okay, because we knocked out those highs there, okay, and we got the majority of it out, it helped us present this piece to the machine properly. Hence, no wobble.
Wow.
Okay, and you're gonna get the same as we get there. Okay, but I got the majority of it out, so I'm gonna start going on this side now.
Okay.
And you'll see how it all knocks out.
Nice.
Okay, I'm gonna reset it. Okay, remember earlier, we're right where we need to be. Now we're just going down to our thickness. We've knocked a lot of the warp out. Okay, sometimes it doesn't always work. That's why I'll tell you a jointer is a must need to face a board.
Right.
For thicknessing first, and I'll always say that. Stay tuned. We got a jointer coming to the shop soon. But what I want to talk about now is what we talked about, that feed roller and the direction of cut. The cutter goes what?
Cutter goes counterclockwise.
Okay, so we got to look at ground. Now this is what I was talking about. The piece I'm doing has this curl in here.
Yeah, it
okay,
does.
now we can eliminate tear out one of two ways. Understanding direction of grain, which is tough with curly. Okay, figure. And I'll show you on this board, and yours is pretty much straight up, but sometimes you'll get woods that have what are called cathedrals for grain.
Gotcha.
Okay, and if that cutter's coming like this, what's it gonna do?
Chip it out.
Okay, so that's going this way. So what you want to do is feed it this way. And always remember that when you feed it in, remember what that cutter head's doing. Now, this grain, because it's got that curly figure, or very few curls in here, there's another way to tackle this. Take a lighter cut. I usually go that half turn. Sometimes it's good for quarter turn.
Okay.
Okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna stay at the half turn to see if we start to get tear out.
Sounds good.
But I'm gonna aim it in this direction, okay?
Okay.
And that's just another tip that I wish I had been taught early on.
Well, there you go.
This is something that I say, how do you eliminate snipe? You're not getting any snipe. As you're basically feeding it out, the roller's feeding it, make sure your hand stays level, because that roller will grab it and dip it. That's where you get snipe.
Okay.
So one of the things I want you to notice is, let's look at the floor. Chris, look. See this? And you might have seen some dust spitting out a little.
Sure.
Okay? That doesn't matter. Okay? Because we're picking, that fan's taking it and throwing that material that we're coming up. That's just a little bit of the, I call it the byproduct. Okay. I don't sweat the small things. Okay? When I need to change my cyclone here, okay? Let's come over here, Chris. Is when I notice this board has little white divots in it. And it sounds funny. It's because there's too much dust going down on top of the board.
Oh.
It's getting in the feed roller on the way out. So that's when I know, hey, I gotta change my cyclone, or I gotta change my bag.
Okay.
It's so important, but that's what I wanted to get across to you right there. It's 1 inch, okay? We have 1 inch material. So what do you notice about these boards?
First, I noticed these marks. Where are these marks right here?
Okay, I got a chip in my knife on my cutter head.
Easy
Okay,
enough.
I got to replace the knives because these are double-sided knives and I've already flipped them once.
Okay.
Okay, now there's a little play in there, so you could actually offset them so the second or third knife can cut. That's one remedy. I'm just going to replace the knives.
Okay.
I also want you to notice something. Grab your board and go like this. Do you feel any highs or lows? Absolutely not. I'll answer for you. So I always tell people, don't sweat. I call this don't sweating the small stuff.
Okay.
Knock those highs off with the hand plane and see what happens after multiple passes. Yes, we'll get a joiner and I'll go over the ins and outs with the jointer for you. But man, I'll tell you what, these are dead flat. I'm just gonna grab mine because sometimes I don't trust scales. Okay, and let's see where we're at. Oh my God, look at that. And I'm gonna take it one more, it's 25.27. Hello!
Hey!
So there you go. And that's some basic tips on a thickness planer.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And as we always say,
Be positive.
stay sharp.